Hello, I'm Victoria Medina, and I'm really excited because I don't know if you've seen, but I've been testing going live over the past few days, and I'm thrilled to be here with you today. I am the founder of Image Power Formula, and what's been really interesting over the past few years is, you know, I'm sure you've been in this situation. I have. This literally happened to me. I was at dinner with friends and good friends I've known for quite some time. And this was several years ago, but I was at dinner with friends that I've known for quite some time. Some of us even grew up together. And there's that moment when you start taking out the videos and the albums and you start sharing memories because you start going down memory lane. And there I was, and we were looking through all these images and videos, and a question kept coming up. Where's Victoria? Where's Victoria? And the answer was always there. Victoria, I was always behind the camera. Why was I always behind the camera? Well, frankly, I was a little nervous about being in front of the camera. And in that moment, what I discovered was that my fear stopped me from capturing those memories. My fear stopped me from communicating with clients and future customers, meeting people. My fear stopped me from having those images there for my friends and all of us to connect together. Now, we could talk about what happened in those moments, but the time when I was away from them, that's when they're going to look at the photographs and they may not have said, "Where's Victoria?" or "Wasn't Victoria there?" Because you know what happens in the moment. You're having the conversations and you're just caught up in the moment. And maybe you don't always think about that. Well, I don't want that to happen to anybody else. There's no reason for it. One of the beautiful things about being comfortable in front of any camera ready moment, whether it's for business or pleasure, for those special events with family, or those special charity events that you might attend, what you want to be able to do is just be your authentic self and capture that. Because the beauty about that is you're number one, capturing memories, but number two, you're also capturing your visual biography. And the beauty about being on camera is that you're going to learn how to embrace yourself, accept yourself, be able to communicate not from thinking about what you look like, but from really being excited about living in the moment and then looking at those images times later. So, I am thrilled to talk to you about the first thing that I say to everyone when they're on camera is the first thing you want to do, whether it's in a moment or it's for a still camera or something you're preparing for, just think about the story. What is the story in your mind that you want to share? What is the story that you want to capture and how you want to capture even that moment? What's the story in the moment? So, in the moment, it could be who you're with, what the event's about, what it is in that split second moment that you just want to enjoy and communicate. The other thing about storytelling is you could also think about mostly because right now we are on social media. And with everything that happened this past year, many of us found that we had to be on camera. We had to be on camera for a Zoom call. We had to be on camera to meet with our bosses, our employers, our colleagues, our clients. And many people came to me because they were ill prepared for that. I had an attorney who asked me, "What do I do?" I find that when I'm in court, I will look around I want to gauge what the happenings with the jury, or if there isn't a jury there, really look at my client, look at the person that we're up against, look at the judge, and really have an idea of what is going on in the moment. But what she discovered is that while she was looking, while she was able to freely engage the room when she was live without a camera, the camera, when she was on camera, it exaggerated everything. And she wasn't quite sure how to deal with that because she needed to be able to look around so she could serve her client. But she wasn't quite sure how to be in front of the camera. And that is what Image Power Formula and me going live here and sharing this information with you is all about. So the first thing that I want to talk about is visual storytelling. And I'll start out with an interesting story because we all think that everyone who's in front of the camera is naturally comfortable in front of the camera. I thought so. Whenever I would look at a celebrity, I would honestly think, wow, they just understand how to look, how to pose, how to be there. And then one day I had the opportunity to shoot on a red carpet. And the celebrities were filing in and they were filing in. And one group of people, the reporters around me, because I was surrounded by just about every news organization there was, and they're screaming out, New York Times, look here. The Post, look over here. Enquirer, look over here. And you could tell that the person, the celebrity, the person on the red carpet had to really take a moment to see where they were looking. Well, I did something a little different. I said, you look fantastic. And right away, they looked at my camera. They gave me a great smile. And why did they do that? Because in that moment, I was connecting to them. I was letting them know that they looked fantastic. And in that moment, they recognized that, yeah, they probably saw themselves in the mirror that morning and looked really good. So suddenly, instead of looking at the New York Post and hearing that voice and saying, okay, I got to look good for the New York Post, or, oh my God, it's the New York Times. Oh my goodness, there's Hollywood Reporter, and thinking about how that's going to go out and how they're going to be, and probably having that moment where they weren't quite sure how they looked. I basically told them they looked fantastic. And in that moment, they became fantastic. And I could see because I have some images when they were looking at the other publications, and there was just moments where they weren't quite all present. And then all of a sudden they came alive. And I was very fortunate because at the event, I would then proceed into the green room, or at the time, the VIP room, to continue my work that day. And a number of the celebrities that I photographed came up to me and kindly said thank you. They said because they had been doing so much that morning that by the time they got to the red carpet, they may not have had a chance to take a look in the mirror, had a chance to really just take that moment to gauge where they are. And I know that what I share with my clients is to always have that moment. And so, whether you're a celebrity, a business professional, someone who's just coming to the camera for the first time, these are the tips and strategies that I'm excited to share with you and to answer all of your questions. Because one thing that's really exciting is when I finish with this live presentation, I'm going to invite all of you to join me in Clubhouse, where we could continue and I could take your questions live and we could do a live Q&A. In the interim, you're welcome to chat with me here. But what's exciting about joining me in Clubhouse is I could hear your questions immediately as well. And I will be leaving a link below for for you to come and join me there. So let's talk about visual storytelling. Now, visual storytelling, as I said, you want to think about the first thing is really gauge where you are at in the moment. So at a charity event, what is it that who are you with? What do you want to convey? Just think about those little things that happen in that moment. When you want to think about how you want to present your story. You want to think about how, take a moment, go into the ladies' room, the men's room, check your makeup, make sure your presentation is aligned with the story that you want to share. The other thing about visual storytelling is feeling it, really appreciating what it is, the story that you want to convey. Because if you're in front of the camera and you're immediately thinking, oh my God, what do I look like? Who am I going to be? Who am I creating to? Who am I talking to? And you're concerned about how you look, you're not communicating. In that moment, you are just not communicating. So you want to be able to gauge the moment. So the first thing I would say is to think about the moment that you're in. The second thing that I would say is to think about who you're having a conversation with. Is it going to be a client? Is it going to be a friend? Is it going to be a donor? So you want to be able to also think about who you're having that conversation with. So the first thing is where you're at. The second thing is who you're having the conversation with. The third thing is going to be, as I said a moment ago, your presentation. So the first thing is where you're at, who you're having the conversation with, and your presentation. So, and the reason why I flipped that just now is because sometimes when you think about who you're going to talk to, then that connects to your presentation and how you're going to present yourself. And then the fourth thing that I would say is focus on how much you want to share in that moment. Now, if you're on video, you're going to think about what you want to say. Like I'm speaking to you right now here on video. So I'm going to think about what are the words and the phrases and how I can communicate that with you so that you can actually take the tips and strategies and go and utilize them, go and execute them immediately. If I was speaking to somebody about, let's go to a pizza shop later on and get a slice of pizza, I may be thinking and speaking in with a little different tonation, a little different speed, a little different excitement than as I am here with you right now in much more of a training video situation. So that's what the other thing you want to do when you're talking, when you're thinking about how you're going to communicate. So if you have, so I'm going to right now, I'm going to make a copy of my link here. Oops, here it is. And I'm just going to take a moment. Oh, it takes time to copy sometimes. I don't know why, but it's going to work this way. Here we go. Right. So I'm going to take a copy of this link and I'm going to put it here in the chat room so you can download the link and then join me in Clubhouse. So I'm typing it in right now, so give me just a minute. And you can then join me. Oops. Perfect. Almost there. Let's see. Here we go. Took a little bit too much information when I was copying it in that you don't need to have. So I'm just deleting that right now. Perfect. There you go. All right. So there's the link. Now, the beauty about this link, it's going to bring you to my club, Image Power Formula on Clubhouse. So even if you do not have an invitation to Clubhouse, this will allow you to be invited in, basically, and you can then go to the through my Clubhouse room. You can then find the room and join me there. It will also, in case you're looking at this on a replay, this will give you the opportunity to sign up for sign into Clubhouse, join my club, and then see when I'm going to have another room scheduled or another live schedule. I'll also post here on Facebook. So let me know. So let's go back for a minute. So let's go back to visual storytelling. And that's really what it is. Whenever you're on camera, as I am with you right now, I'm telling a story. I am telling a story of, oh, I got a prompt here. So let's see what that says. Oh, great. Wonderful that you can see the link. I really appreciate that. And it's really interesting because this is the first time I'm using this kind of service. So it's fun trying to find all the bells and whistles. So the one thing, so when you're doing visual storytelling, you want to think about certain things. And then also the beauty of it is also how are you going to be on camera? Are you going to be on a video camera? Are you going to be on a still camera? Are you going to be taking a selfie? Because are you going to be taking a selfie alone or with friends? Now, we often see a lot of people on Instagram and various social media where there's a still image. But within that still image, look at it really closely because they're telling a story. Now, the one thing I really want to stress is for you to appreciate and embrace who you are. You do not want to compare, because that's a big thing right now. I know I do it. I know I've done it for a long time, right? We compare ourselves. Well, I heard a wonderful quote a few weeks ago where a person said, how I compare myself to myself. I compare myself to how I was different the day before. I compare myself to how I am better than when I first started. So let's face it, as I go live with you consistently, I'm going to get better from where I am today. And so I may look at these videos a few weeks from now and say, oh, okay, I progressed from there. But if I'm going to compare myself to, let's say, the queen of television, Oprah Winfrey, there's no way. I mean, she's got it all. The experience, being on camera, all the bells and whistles. We cannot compete with other people. So when you're starting to think about your visual storytelling, begin with what you have, the camera that you have, the equipment that you have, how you're going to relate and connect with it. Let's see. I have one more. I got a request here. Okay. Oh, I understand. Yes. So someone just shared with me that they cannot see the link on my personal page um, for um, uh, for Clubhouse. So I will post that right after I'm done here. So you'll be able to see that as well if you want to come and join me in Clubhouse, which will be a lot of fun. And continuing with it, the key right now is to start with where you're at. Really embrace yourself, who you are, what you look like. Embrace the camera that you're going to be using. and appreciate the tools that you have in the moment. And we'll start talking about some of those technical issues as well. But the more that you can connect to who you feel you are and embrace who you are. Now, the other thing to recognize when I talk about visual storytelling, I had this question asked to me a couple of days ago, which was, well, what is the difference between me being on camera and me looking in a mirror? And the difference is, and this is why there is such a disconnect, because you see yourself in the mirror every day, and then you go on camera, and this is why it's really important to understand this difference, because there's this shock a lot of people have, especially if they're not on camera all the time, which is, my God, I don't like what I look like on camera, yet you're okay with looking at yourself in the mirror. The difference is a lens. There is going to be a different look between how you see yourself every day in the mirror and how the lens, the camera, will capture you. And that's really important, which is why you need to embrace who you are first and foremost. Because even in the worst camera ready lighting technical conditions, if you shine, you'll be able to overcome that. And it's challenging. And I'll go into that in more detail as we move along, or if you come into Clubhouse and join me for the Q&A, I'll be able to discuss that in more detail. But the thing to remember is the camera is a tool. It's like you're a musician and you're working with an instrument, or you're an artist and you're working with a paintbrush. The camera is in and of itself a paintbrush, and it's going to capture colors different from how you look in your mirror. It's going to capture lighting differently than how you look in the mirror. So the storytelling is first and foremost the best way to really start with working with the camera. Visually storytelling, because you're not always going to be in control of lighting, although I'll be able to tell you how you can do that most of the time. You're not always going to be in control of what's behind you, although I'll be able to share those tips with you as well. But for the most part, if you just want to begin with just saying, no matter what, I'm going to be comfortable in front of every camera, begin with the storytelling. And you can look at that in many ways, because if you look at most celebrity magazines, most people who are captured on camera for current events and news, they're there in that moment. They're just being themselves in that moment. And what absorbs us is the storytelling. What captures us to watch is how they're communicating, how they're telling their story. They're not in that moment thinking about what they look like or how they're presenting themselves. They're so caught up in the moment, especially when you have the news cameras asking people in that moment their reaction to an event that has gone on, that happened like moments ago or a few hours before. They're so caught up in the moment that they're not really thinking about how they look, how they're dressed, or anything. And how we're relating to them is because they're telling that story. So I hope that gives you a greater idea about that. So as I said, I look forward to spending more time with you. The best way, if you want to receive some of these strategies and tips in writing, please go to, and I'm going to write it right here. Join me at Image, IMAGE, powerformula.com. You also see it under in my caption and in my logo above. And I will send you emails about you can get my newsletter, which will include various strategies and tips that I share each week. And then you'll also get private invitations, and you'll be able to email me questions as well. So I would say there are two things where we could start to stay in touch because I want to hear from you. What are some of your questions? What do you need? How can I help you? So you are just so excited about being on camera, whether it's for a Zoom call or just for those wonderful profile images that you're going to use to attract clients. There is something there for you. Thank you so much for joining me. Again, if you want to continue this conversation with a Q&A, click on the link for Clubhouse and join me in Clubhouse. I will be there in about 5 minutes. Just give me a little time to get to organize the room and to end my live stream here and then move into Clubhouse. Thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. And I look forward to seeing you again. This has been absolutely wonderful. Take care. Oh, and this is what I say to everyone. Life is full of moments, and those moments you will capture. Capture the spirit of life with passion. Thank you.